Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 138. It's for the week of August 22nd, 2021. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by the slightly tanned, but you can't tell because he's got a ring light in front of him. It's Will.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Now I live underneath a bus permanently. Dude, the white t-shirt doesn't help, I gotta say. I'm just a glowing porcelain white man.
I'm going to bring you up on the main camera here because right now you are the pastiest motherfucker I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, my God. If only I could prove that I'm not. I mean, typically, I'm really, really pasty. There's no doubt about it. Everyone knows that has seen me and hung out with me in person. I am a white man. I am basically Powder. If you've ever seen the movie Powder, that's basically me. But honestly, I do have a tan. I swear to God. I'll find a way to prove this. Just give me some time. Give me some time and give me the proper lighting. Not this Amazon ring light for $13. It's not doing me any justice here. I've been at the pool every day.
Oh, God.
I've been reading books.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
We have a
pelican of a man, Dave.
We have a boisterous Twitch chat room already, so real quick, shout out to everybody that's there, including Son of a Fitch, Killer Sirach, Advent Portal, Epic Outro, and anybody else who I have missed. Welcome to the very penultimate episode. Is that the word, penultimate? It's the second to last one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It is. It's a weird feeling. I don't think it really sunk in for us yet.
No, man. I'm going to I'm just going to log into Twitch on Monday at 6:30 by myself and just stare at the screen for an hour. I'm just going to be like, this is what I'm going to do.
Like an accountability mirror. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. Your co-host is leaving the show. You're a piece of shit.
Oh, man.
Dude, honestly, I don't think it's going to really hit us until next Monday.
No.
Next Monday, it's gonna hit us hard.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I really don't have anything to add to that. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I mean, I thought about it and I was like, man, I don't really feel anything quite yet. I felt a lot when I had to make the announcement, but the blow has been softened, and I think we're gonna get gut punched on Monday.
Well, the grind is
which is expected.
We're still dealing with the grind of producing these every week, with the social and the highlights and the production and everything. So it's like you don't really have a chance to sit and absorb it until it's not there anymore. So
yeah, precisely.
But this week is going to be an awesome week. We actually have a ton of topics to talk about, and then next week Well, we don't have any topics yet, but it's gonna be great. I swear.
We have ideas. We have ideas.
we have a list of 2 items. It's stellar. Anyway,
I think they call it ideation.
is that what it is?
I think so. Somebody at work said that recently. I was like, is that even a fucking word? It probably is.
I don't know.
Ideation doesn't sound right.
It really doesn't. Not to me anyway. But in any case, let's just tell everybody where to find us real quick. Of course, you are listening to Will and Drew's Penultimate Gaming Retrospective. I'm sorry, Scooby. I don't have anything clever for that one. You can find us on the web at WDGRpodcast.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Will, if somebody would like to find you, how can they do so?
Yes, soundcloud.com/Will_Gear.
And you can find me at ScienceStorm on Twitter. That's the best place to begin your stalking of me. I had a tweet go viral the other day for the first time. That was pretty cool.
Did you?
Yeah, it was like a Hurricane Henri thing. And like it was so people were liking it and retweeting it so frequently that I actually had to turn off notifications for that tweet. It's the first time I've ever done it.
Wait a second. Hurricane Henri? I thought it was Henry.
Oh, no. It's Henri. See, my
Really?
the meme that I shared would be perfect for you. I will show you after the show.
Huh.
It is spelled Henri, and it is
Right.
Henri.
Huh. I had no idea. I mean, I don't really watch the news at all. So I just read it. I was like, oh, it's just a different way of spelling Henry.
No. This is Pinky's out, my friend.
Henri.
Henri, yeah. I mean, if you are drinking
Like we, the yogurt.
yeah, like if you're drinking your bottle of water, your pinky is up.
Yeah, it's a pinky out. Sure.
Now I have water all over my mustache. Anyway.
Lauren shared a meme that was in relation to Hurricane Henri, and it was a picnic table, like a fold-out plastic picnic table with some cheap-ass chairs around it, and just one chair toppled over. And it was something like, this was Hurricane Henri. And I'm like, pretty accurate. I mean, at least in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, well, you're pretty north, so I think you guys were, fairly safe to begin with. We are in some flood watch areas up in my neck of the woods, and further south there was some fear that there could be some pretty serious coastal flooding. I think eastern Connecticut and Rhode Island ended up catching the brunt of it. So I don't know if we have any listeners out that way. Hopefully everybody's doing okay and they're safe. But for us middle Connecticuters, I guess we got lucky.
Yeah, we did. We did. I was telling you earlier, for the folks that are listening now, that basically in my area of Windsor, Connecticut, we had just some heavy torrential rain and wind. And the wind I don't think was as strong as we expected. It was supposed to be an extremely bad hurricane, but for at least again, my neck of the woods, it was pretty mild.
Yeah. We yesterday was like barely anything, and then today we got the bulk of the rain. We actually my in-laws spent the weekend here, and they left early on Sunday anticipating that they were going to hit like the worst of the storm. And they live out in Long Island, so that made a lot of sense, try to beat the traffic and try to beat the storm as well too. And we really didn't get much here. I guess they ended up having a leak in their roof, unfortunately, so that kind of sucks. But outside of that, I don't think it was really that bad for them traveling home. But we lucked out, man. So outside of the hurricane and outside of Tans, what's going on with you? How you been?
Honestly, I've been well, man. We had a pretty decent weekend. We went to the New Britain Museum of American Art, which we've been wanting to go to for many years, and that was really nice. And had a nice Whole Foods buffet lunch, which we haven't had in a couple years. Did that before, and then yesterday we were just on the couch all day just watching Netflix. And typically we don't have days that we do that all day, so it was nice to just be laying there practically in a sort of half coma with both of my cats on top of my chest for hours and hours. And I kept saying to Lauren, I was like, I never in my life did I ever complain about 2 cats being on top of me until yesterday.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, man, these cats don't even weigh that much. But after the, after like 3-4 hours of them just laying on top of you in the same spot,
Mm-hmm.
barely shifting their weight, they end up feeling like they each weigh 50 pounds.
It is a enlightening experience when a cat like just completely falls asleep on you because they don't fucking move.
They don't.
It's just dead weight, and it's adorable for like maybe the first half hour, 45 minutes, and then you're like, dude, I gotta take a piss. Like, you gotta get up. And then
I got stuff to do, homie.
and they're like, nah, no thanks, man, we're not moving. And you're just gonna have to figure this out. And then they just like roll upside down, and
Yeah.
and then they're like even more adorable, and you don't want to move them, but then you really got to pee, and you're kind of getting hungry, and somebody's knocking at the door telling you to move your car, and you're like, I can't, I got cats laying on me, I don't know what's going on.
Sometimes you just want to move around because you suddenly have this realization that you've been in the same spot for 3 fucking hours.
As Brad just noted in the chat, sometimes your legs fall asleep and you can't walk. Yep, that is also a real thing. So cats, they're great, except when they're not. That's my motto for the week. That is the episode title. Until something
wise words, my friend.
Until something better comes along. So, oh man. So, what have you been playing? You got anything you've been playing lately?
Yeah, still trucking along with Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been playing every day, but I've been playing when I can and when I'm in the mood to, and it's been treating me quite well.
Okay.
It's more or less the same. I think the story is becoming a little bit more sensible and digestible for me now, which is good because my initial impressions were a little bit of a mixed bag. A little bit convoluted, but that's how the game opens. It's a really strange, bizarre game, and it still is. I just have a better understanding of what I'm doing now. And when you look at the synopsis or even just the plot of this game, the game is actually set in an apocalyptic United States. And basically what happened is this cataclysmic event known as Death Stranding caused beached things, also known as BTs, which are these invisible creatures originating from the beach. Everything's in quotes here on Wikipedia. Lands thought to be unique to each person that are typically visited during near-death experiences and are said to be the link to the afterlife to begin roaming the earth. It's a lot. I mean, if you read the setting here under synopsis, even though it like sort of makes sense, it sort of doesn't, and you kind of have to play the game to understand it. So I'm still so early on where I can't formulate my own opinion on the setting without referring to this because there's just too much that I don't understand yet. But I do understand that I am a porter, or I am like a package carrier, and I'm one of the last humans left, I guess, from what I understand, along with a few other characters that are sort of helping me along. And I just finished cremating the president.
What?
So that was the person that I was carrying on my back on my first initial review. So I finished that mission, which took me like an hour to do. Because traversing in this game is really realistic. Like the sense of weight is really real. So like if you're running with this body on your back, you can't really run that fast. And if you take a sharp turn, you'll start to actually like fall over. So you have to hit, I think, both the triggers to actually hold onto your backpack kind of like this, like you would like a real backpack, to stabilize it. And you have to do a lot of stabilizing in this game when you're carrying packages because they've implemented a real sense of weight dispersal in this game. And then when you mix that with the traversal of what you're doing, which is basically traversing really rocky, sort of hilly lands of, I call it Scotland because it just reminds me of that. But it's not even smooth terrain. We're not dealing with Florida roads here. This is New England territory, just like potholes and, just bumps and hills. And it's not easy traversing around for sure. And that's something I had to learn pretty quickly with this, dead president on my back.
Now you're playing the PS4 version, right? The director's cut hasn't come out yet.
That's right. Yeah, so I'm playing the PS4 version.
So I'm kind of more curious now that we're were talking through it about, how the director's cut would potentially utilize the haptic feedback on the triggers, because it seems like with how much you have to work on balancing yourself out, like that would be something they would take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not really sure how they're going to implement that technology yet, but it does look kind of appealing. Again, I don't know if I would get it unless I really fall in love with this game, and I'm liking it, but I'm certainly nowhere near in love with it yet,
Right.
if at all. So we'll see. But I did have my first experience with the BTs, and that's kind of terrifying. So you have this little device that is kind of hooked onto your suit, and it kind of reminds me of a device that you find in Returnal that helps you guide your way into where you need to go next. And that mechanism exists with this device as well. I forget what the device is called, but it has a name. Everything has a fucking name in this game. And when you run into the BTs, this thing starts spinning and flashing and kind of going like this.
Okay.
And it sort of lets you know where the BTs are because you can't see them. So you have to kind of crouch and move really slowly when you encounter them. And it's really scary because you know that they're listening for you. And I definitely got caught by them a couple times, which I think was supposed to happen. But when you get caught, they come up from underneath the ground like this sort of black mud. And it's just like these crazy demon mud creatures that are trying to drag you into the ground. So you start kind of trudging through this BT mud. And you got to get out. And every time you get stuck by them, you think you're going to die. Like it's like quicksand. Same kind of effect. So I had my first experience with that. Pretty scary. Not sure if you can really fend them off besides just kind of walking through it.
Yeah.
And outside of that, man, it was really just completing this mission of burning the president at a cremation center, which was all across the other side of the map. So it took forever to get there because you don't move that fast. And then I had to deal with ladders and all this other stuff. And it's just not easy. Like it's kind of like Skyrim. You get to a mountain and you see that the beeline is going over the mountain, but then you're thinking, well, how do I get to the other side?
Right.
So it took some time for me to complete this mission. And I also made it to the home base where you can kind of sit there and examine things, like examine other suits that you can wear. You can drink monsters. I don't really know why monster drinks are in this game, but they are.
It's a product placement
You could take
thing.
a shower. You could take a shit. You could pee. It's such a strange game, and it's so Kojima. And I'm really not surprised because a lot of his games, they do this kind of stuff where you can just randomly zoom in and just peer at things for no particular reason.
Man, I don't know. I still find myself kind of feeling the same way I did last week. Like, just the weirdness. Like, I like weird shit. That's the thing, man. I like weird shit. And, like, this is, I think, a little weird for even my tastes.
It's a weird game, man. I see Jimmy says that watching this footage makes him want to get back into it. I didn't realize you played Jimmy. I don't know a lot of people that have played this game. I think Joe might have dabbled with it a little bit, but I really don't know an extensive amount of people that have raved or even really spoke about this game before. So I feel like I'm kind of the minority.
Yeah. Killer Sirach says you had him, Matt. You can shit. So
yeah, you can. Yeah, and you can see here in the clip that you're sharing the little talons that kind of come out after each footprint has hit the ground.
Yeah,
it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, there's some
and you can hear it too. They go like,
ugh, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's a weird game, dude. But that's kind of all I got right now. Like, there really isn't anything else I can report. I'm still kind of figuring a lot of things out. But it's interesting. I'm going to keep going with it.
See, like, here's the thing that like confuses me, because to me, like, this is like creepy, kind of almost horror-ish, right?
Yeah.
And I floated the idea of you trying out Dead Space last year, and you were like, nope, no way. But you'll go in the black goop.
Yeah, I guess it's less scary, but I don't know, man. I mean, this game is kind of creepy and it is kind of scary at times, so it could only get worse from here. And if that's the case, maybe I'll quit. I don't know. But Dead Space creeped the fuck out, man. I mean, that game is just on a different level. This might be a little bit more mild, but there are some sequences that I mentioned last time with the guy stabbing himself that was kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, yeah, that kind of stuff can be. It's always tricky when you start getting into like self-harm like that, you know,
Oh yeah,
in any
he's like
game.
repeatedly doing it like very quickly, and I was like, damn, dude,
Yeah.
that is not something I really want to digest after work.
No, no, I'm with you there. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes, man. And I don't know how much of this you'll be able to talk about next week. But, at the very
Hopefully
least,
more.
hopefully more. And at the very least, keep me in the loop with how it's going, too. Because,
Oh, I will. Yeah.
I'm curious to see if this is something that you stick with all the way through and if it delivers to the level of expertise and quality that you've come to expect from Kojima.
Yeah. Well said, man. I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So I will keep you posted.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
What's going on with Hades?
Oh man, Hades has been quite a bit of fun. I've been able to play more of it this week than I anticipated that I would, and I'm really starting to dive into it and get comfortable with the game. I believe I've unlocked all of the weapons at this point. There might be one or two more that I haven't reached yet, but so far I have access to a sword, which is like your starter weapon, a spear, a shield, a bow and arrow, gauntlets where you could like punch people, and a gun kind of thing, which it doesn't look like a gun, but it shoots. And each of these weapons has their own like alternate fire. So for example, with the sword, your alternate attack, your alternate fire, is kind of like a circular attack around you. With the spear, you throw the spear completely out of your grasp and it flies forward, and then you can recall it and it hits on both directions, which is pretty cool. The bow and arrow has like a spread fire that it does. The shield actually does like a Captain America throw where it bounces from target to target. And then with the gun, you actually launch like a small missile that will attack a group of enemies. And the game is a lot of fun, man. I have yet to clear the full thing, but I have beaten the first boss a few times. The game is really hard. Let's just get that out of the way. This is a difficult game, and as much as your skill improves with it, a lot of it does come down to the boons that you get, the weapon that you're using, your proficiency with that weapon, and just sheer luck in some cases too, because a lot of this is randomly generated. So they encourage you to try different weapons by giving you bonuses. So for example, last week I talked about currencies that you carry after death from run to run, and then currencies that when you die, they're gone forever, right? So when you go to choose your weapon before you go back in for another run, it'll give you a bonus on one of those weapons. It'll give you like 20% more dark matter, for example. And that's one of those currencies that you can carry with you on the next time. That helps you unlock new skills and become stronger. So it's in your best interest to use that weapon. And in the process, you're becoming more skilled with it as a player. You're earning a little bit more money. And you're unlocking all these different challenges is probably the wrong word, but like there's a list of boons that they recommend that you take. They call them fated prophecies. And even though the boons that you receive are completely random, you'll get a little notification on that list that you could choose from that one of those things is fated. Like they believe that this is a fated choice. And that's just a tip off to let you know. It's like, hey, you should pick this one because it will hit one of those check marks on your list. Not necessarily because it's better or worse, just that it will help you complete that list. And when you complete that list, you get a bonus, right? So it's in your best interest to kind of grind that stuff out. But you have almost no control over that grind. And that is the blessing and the curse of roguelite games. The grind, like, yes, your skill level is important, but at the end of the day, you could just have shitty luck and it's not going to make a difference.
Well, all I could say is that the video that you're sharing here, whoever's playing is just absolutely destroying.
Yeah. They're much better than I am. So
As I say that, their fury was just vanquished.
Well, that was
so I guess they spoke.
yeah, that was actually a boss. So
Oh, all right. So
yeah,
they beat the boss.
they beat the boss. Yeah. So the gameplay that we're showing here, it does seem to be kind of cutting out storyline elements, as far as I could tell, which is nice. It's just action and gameplay. And like you could see in this video clip too, like there's this spinning disc behind him as he dashes forward, and that will cause either damage or area of effect status on the enemies. There's boons that do that for you. There's boons that will cause your strikes to have weakness or doom or some sort of a status effect. Here they're choosing between 3 different things, and you can kind of see some of the options there. This is actually an opportunity to level up one of those boons. It's an interesting loop, and it's a very satisfying one, and you can kind of start to cater your build for your character in a certain direction if you'd like to. But it's really hard to control that, Like I could say, I want to try to focus on boons from Ares this time around. And sure, if I ever get the choice between Ares and another god, maybe I'll focus on the boons from Ares. But that doesn't mean I'm going to get those, So you have to be willing and able to go in with the playstyle in mind, but adapt to it and change it as you go based on what you get. Mm-hmm. Super challenging though, and I've only really made it to the second area, which is in the video that we're seeing now. This is more like a traditional hell look, and I think most Americans are used to seeing. I don't know what's beyond this. I'm assuming it's more death. But it's a fun game, man, and it's what I like about it is I can pause it, I can turn my Xbox off, I can walk away, I can come back a day or two later, completely, unaware of what I had done previously, and it really doesn't matter because I just have to kill everything in the room, and I just do it. There's no. You don't have to remember what direction you were going in. You don't have to remember whether or not you did this puzzle. You don't have to remember whether or not there was this dialogue option. You can, at a glance, see what you need to see and just get to it. And it's really refreshing.
Yeah, I know I've said it so many times before, but Supergiant has such a talent for making such a unique looking game. I mean, their art style is just unlike anything else. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to describe it too. You can't really, because it's so one of a kind.
Yeah.
And it's sort of cartoonish at times. Other times it flows like an anime. It's like everything. It's like everything that's just cool about art is just here.
Yeah, it does have an anime flair to it, especially when you're in the dialogue sections with the characters, which I don't think we've seen any on this video clip yet. The gameplay itself is very fluid, well animated. We're seeing a boss battle that I personally haven't seen yet, so this is a great spoiler. Oops. But, what are you going to do? I'm going to have to face him sooner or later. It's like this cross between like a traditional anime and like a comic book, but it's got a flair of its own, and just the art direction is absolutely stunning. The worlds feel thoroughly alive, and for the most part, it's each area has a number of maps that are identical each time you play through, right? So this screen, as it's laid out, every single time you play it, it'll be the same. But, if this was, let's say this wasn't a boss battle, let's say this was just a normal screen, it might not be first, it might be last, it might be third, it might be fifth. It gets mixed up each time you do the run. So you can kind of have an idea of what to expect, but not the order that you're going to get it in,
Yeah, it's just the team at Supergiant, they must have some really imaginative people working there, because to imagine and to create some of these animations that you're seeing here, I mean, it takes a special talent, special skill to do that. And
they're utilizing, Greek mythos extremely well,
Yeah, it's such a unique idea, man.
Yeah.
I really am kind of infatuated with this game, even though I really have played none of it.
In the Twitch chat, Son of a Fitch says, Transistor is the only Supergiant game I've played. So good, though. I love the art and music. Transistor I have not played yet, but I do own it. I think I bought it on Switch. But, Will, you and I played Bastion about 100 episodes ago. And
Yeah, we did.
we talked about it quite a bit on the air. And while we both liked the game, I think we both had some issues with it as well, too. It wasn't a perfect game. But Transistor is absolutely on my list. And with Hades, I'll be completely honest with you, any sour feelings I had towards Supergiant from Bastion, this game has redeemed all those and wiped them away. I am on board with Supergiant as a developer right now.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to finally sink your teeth into Transistor, because that is that is a special game.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, but the best utilization of that PS4 controller I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's that
with the speaker.
That speaker is something else, man. I wish the Switch had one. It does not. I will just have to rely on the television, I guess. So, let's talk about Black Myth Wukong. I know you're excited about that one.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. I've spoken about this on the show a few times, and you sent me a text. I think it was over this weekend, right?
Yep.
Over the weekend or last week or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got the message, and I was like doing something at the time, and I thought, you know what, the best way to watch this is obviously on my 55-inch, and that's exactly what I did. Fired up YouTube on there, watched the whole thing intensely, and you know, it's more of the same, which is a good thing. You know, it's just we're getting more visuals now. We're getting a closer, quite literally, look at this Unreal Engine, which I believe is the engine they're using. And it looks remarkable at times. The way that, I guess, Wukong, perhaps that's what his name is, the main character, the way that he moves through the snow, it just looked so real. So they were really showing off a lot of those mechanics and a lot of the power, I think, of this engine, which is the most important thing to consider while watching this trailer, is I don't think it's so much the game, it's just what this engine can do. I mean, just some of these artifacts and the sort of design on these temples and stuff, it just looks real at times.
Yeah.
So that was really impressive. The game is really strange. I know that you can transform into different insects and birds and all kinds of different things like that. We saw a little bit of that in the first trailer, where I think you fly in as like a cicada and then you transform into your monkey man self. But we're still learning about the game, right? You know, like this is I think a 12-minute gameplay demo mixed with some cutscenes. And the gameplay that we have, I mean, it looks great. It looks like the first demo that we had. It's just more. So I think that this is enough to probably get more people hyped on it, because I think the first trailer was maybe not quite enough. This is basically just double the length. And to see some different environments and some different elemental conditions like snow, I think is really going to get people enticed. I know this is based off of, I think, a graphic novel or something. I want to say we mentioned that last time. But gameplay-wise, I mean, this is a combo of Sekiro and Dark Souls and just a good quality Devil May Cry. You know, in my opinion, it's like a nice marriage of those three.
So I was not aware that this is actually coming to the Xbox platform as well. I thought it was a PlayStation exclusive for some reason. So that makes me happy, man, because you know, this is pretty cool looking, and it's certainly something that I would keep an eye on. I don't know that I'll necessarily jump into it, but you know, it's gorgeous looking, and you know, we don't get a lot of these types of games anymore. You know, it's always nice to have something following Chinese mythology. Everything tends to be either you know, Middle Ages European or Japanese, you know.
Exactly. Very good point. And, you know, it's funny. One of my work colleagues asked me about this. He's like, "Hey, dude, did you see the trailer for it?" And I was like, "Black Myth Wukong?" He's like, "Yep." And I was like, I did. And we talked about it for a little bit. And later on, I was like, "Is this going to be a day one for you?" And he remarked with, "Well, you know, is anything really a day one anymore?" And I really, that sat with me for a while, because nothing really is a day one in today's gaming world, because we're all dealing with these backlogs, and day one purchases are harder to come by. I guess it's kind of like the equivalent of a midnight release. No one goes to them anymore. And the ones that do, and if you're buying a game day one, this has to be something that you want to play immediately.
Right.
And do I want to play this tomorrow? Of course I do. I want to play it now, but I just fear that there's still not quite enough to get me to play it immediately, but I want to play it. You know, like this is something that maybe I would pick up month one, unless there's something else that comes out that just really sells me on it. I think it looks great. Again, I think it reminds me a lot of Sekiro, which is a good thing. It looks hard. That's okay, but again, I fear that it could have the Sekiro effect where I really fall in love with the game and then I rage quit after like the third boss
Yeah.
and I put it on the back burner for like a year. So, you know, I don't know, man. I just think it's really cool looking. I think it's nice to see a Chinese developer or Chinese studio behind this. There are some mechanics that look really cool in terms of move sets and animations that are very intriguing. And outside of that, I mean, that's kind of it, man. It looks great.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like you have until 2023 to make a decision. It doesn't look.
Oh boy,
it's not coming out next year. So far, they're targeting 2023 as a release date, and it doesn't even say what part of the year. So you're gonna have plenty of time to kind of make a decision about what order you want to play things in, and you know, if that is going to be a day one purchase for you, you know. Maybe it's worth planning around. You know what I mean?
sure. That's a great point, and maybe we're living in a world now where, you know, hearing about a release date 2-3 years from now is not such a terrible thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
It's almost kind of a relief.
in a way, I guess it kind
You're
of
like,
is.
oh God, thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I think about stuff like that and trying to plan ahead, and then I just get sidetracked by something else. And you know, shit, man, I've started 4 games in the past month. You know, and we've been down that road with that conversation numerous times. So it's embarrassing to say, but at the same time too, it's like I'm having fun, so I'm just gonna go with it. You know, I'm playing things that I'm enjoying, that I'm circling back to. For the most part, I mean, I played Flight Simulator for like 2 days, so I guess that's kind of a bust. But Hades, I'm playing the shit out of. You know, I keep going back to that.
Funny. It's almost like accepting the problem. Like when you can actually accept the fact that you have a problem.
Yeah,
it makes everything a lot easier. Just be like, you know what, man, I may never get to that game, and it's almost liberating to say that out loud. Maybe that's the conversation you have in front of the mirror. Is you say, you know what, Drew? Not only am I a piece of shit.
Hold on. Let me bring you back up on the main screen here for this. Go ahead.
Not only am I a piece of shit, but I cannot get to all these games, and I'm going to accept that. I may never play this game. I may talk about how I want to play it, but I may never purchase this game. I may never play it, and if I do, I may be terrible at it. I might not even beat the first boss, and that's okay. Why is it okay? Because I'm telling myself right now that it's okay that I'm terrible at these kind of games. It's okay that I have a giant backlog. I may never finish these games. Ever in my lifetime finish them. And that's okay. But guess what? I'm going to keep buying games. And I'm not going to finish them. And that's okay. That is the conversation that you have with yourself. That's the conversation that we all must have to set this right, is you acknowledge the problem.
Somebody please remind me to clip that from the final edit and just share it as something you guys can put as your alarm clock for your phones. Imagine
waking, you piece of shit.
Imagine waking up to that.
Oh man.
Oh God.
The only time that we look in the mirror as a human is to fix our hair, find out what's on our fucking face, and maybe brush our teeth and put our deodorant on. That's probably it for your average person.
And to tell myself that I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah,
I'm having
really not looking in the mirror.
I'm having BoJack flashbacks right now. Jimmy knows what's up with that. Stupid piece of shit. You stupid piece of shit. Oh man, watch that show for the love of God. Please watch that show. It's so good. But anyway, BoJack Horseman. It is nothing what you think it is. It is amazing. It is so deep. And
Drew, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I want to know what's going on with Quake.
Oh yeah, so surprise, Quake is on consoles again. But
which one?
The first.
The first one.
Yeah. So I was not paying attention to anything last week, and apparently QuakeCon, the yearly ID software extravaganza, was happening. I want to say Thursday, maybe Friday, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, we remastered Quake 2, and Quake 3, and all of them are available on PC right now. But also you can download Quake on consoles, the original Quake, in 4K right now, and it's also on Game Pass. So enjoy, fuckers." And so I downloaded Quake and I played Quake, and it's great. I fucking love it. Oh man.
All right.
I was a huge Quake fan back in the day. It never surpassed Doom for me, but I have a lot of very fond memories playing Quake on the PC, including playing a little mod called Team Fortress Classic, which was actually on Half-Life, but it stemmed from a Quake mod, which was like the one of the first times you had like that capture the flag based team game kind of thing, right? So Quake was revolutionary in the multiplayer domain, way more than I think Doom was, because you had that freedom of movement, up, down, left, right, forward and back. It was true 3D, whereas Doom was really just kind of faked 3D back in the day. And yes, Killer Sirach, you're right. I will never play Breath of the Wild with all these games.
I mean, he's kind of right.
He's kind of right. But, man, I had a copy of Quake when I was a kid, and the thing that blew my mind about it, more than the 3D graphics or the particle effects or the rocket jumping or anything, was the fact that I could take the disc and put it in my CD player, and I would have a Nine Inch Nails soundtrack, because Trent Reznor did the soundtrack to the first Quake game. And it was just incredible. It was just like getting a Nine Inch Nails album with no words, just completely instrumental. And it was just amazing. Fantastic. I think I played the disc as a CD more than I played the actual game, if I'm being honest. But Quake is just, man, it's such a legendary game for so many reasons. And firing it up on my Xbox on a 65-inch 4K television and having it not look like absolute garbage was just a wonderful experience. And I sat down and I fired it up and I started playing it. And I said to myself, Drew, are you a piece of shit? Are you a hypocrite? Because week in and week out, you criticize remasters and remakes. And I do. But they're not Quake. So I guess that's
not biased at all.
I guess that's my way of acknowledging that I'm actually a piece of shit. I don't know.
I mean, I guess. I mean, that's not favoritism.
Not at all. Not in the slightest, right?
Not in the slightest. I mean, look, here's a couple comments I have for you. Trent Reznor is very talented at what he does. It's amazing to think that he's a composer now, pretty much for movies like Gone Girl and other things. I love the music that he's done for Nine Inch Nails. I love what he does now. I'm not surprised that what you're hearing in this game is great. I've never played the first Quake, so I wouldn't know. But, similar to Doom, I think what makes this game so good is that it has the arcadish elements of this unrealistic movement. And, just it's crazy, like how fast you move in this game, and you could just shoot shit. And there's a time and place for that. And Quake and Doom, I think, scratch that itch for people that are looking for this, fast-paced FPS, unrealistic movement kind of game.
Quake, I think, defined the idea of Twitch gaming, and not Twitch as in the streaming site, but that fast-paced, Twitch mouse, crank the DPS up as high as you can so you're barely moving it, where you're spinning around,
1,000%.
You're shooting the guy behind you, you're spinning around, you're doing a rocket jump, you're in the air, you're shooting the guy beneath you, like that nonstop, fast-paced run and gun style. No game does it better than Quake. None. Full stop.
Yeah.
Agreed. To this day, there are games that try to emulate that. You could see elements of that in games like Fortnite or PUBG, to a different extent.
Sure.
And just watching this gameplay, even though it's a sea of brown and ugly, like, it just warms my heart, because it's it's like getting a pizza from your favorite pizza place that's, not Pepe's, because when you were growing up, your parents couldn't afford to take you to Pepe's. So you went to, Pizza Joe's down the street, and they made an adequate pie, but it was a really good adequate pie. And that's what you remember as a kid. So every once in a while you have to go back and get a pie from Pizza Joe's.
Yeah. There's nothing pretty about this game.
No.
And it's a game where if you look up, the sky is moving at like 200 miles per hour, which again makes no sense, but who cares?
Right.
Who cares, man? The game is weird. It's dark. It's kind of evil.
Yeah. I mean, this
but
guy's
it's fun and it's exhilarating.
you have a gun that shoots fucking nails out of it, and it's got a 9 Inch Nails logo for the ammo. Like, you pick it up, it says NIN. Or in another clip, there's a guy shooting lightning bolts out of a gun. So it's just completely ridiculous, but
yeah,
it's a fun game.
It works.
It's a fun game. It was fun to fire it up. I'll certainly circle back to it. When I was a kid, I'm pretty sure I only had the shareware version of the game. I don't think I ever had the full version. So, I played the shit out of episode 1, but I never really got that far beyond it. And I'm looking forward to spending some casual time with this, going back to it here and there. Maybe not as often as I'll play like Hades or, something else. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's, at the end of the day, man, whatever we have to say about remakes and remasters, it's nice to see some of these gems kind of getting polished up again and resurfacing, kind of in a surprising way like this. It's just like, oh, okay, it's here now.
Right. Exactly. And then also last week, 12 Minutes finally dropped. And I didn't have a chance to play that until today, but I've played it pretty much all of today. So when I first created this topic, I put down 12 Minutes First Impressions. And I think we can remove the word first from it, because I feel like I'm pretty much near the end of the game. I can't.
Oh God.
I can't imagine there's much more to do. So I could talk about this a little bit more in depth than I had originally planned.
Please.
But so the gist of it is you're in a top-down viewpoint, right? And the game kind of reminds me of the old school point-and-click adventures where you click on an area, your character walks over to it. Maybe there's something that you can interact with. You click on that thing, and you perform an action, whether it's picking it up or using it, whatever the case is. And the game starts out, and you walk into your apartment, and your wife is there, and she's happy to see you. She tells you she made this wonderful dessert for you. Turns out she has a surprise, that she's pregnant. And this happens within the first 12 minutes of the game. So I don't consider this a spoiler, because this has been all over social media and everything anyway. So in the first 12 minutes of the game, she sits down, she hands you a gift, and she's like, surprise, I'm pregnant. And you can kind of have this conversation with her, and you're trying to figure out like, oh, okay, so what's the next step? What do we do? Or you could be kind of negative about it and be like, are you sure? Like, is it ours, kind of thing? Mm-hmm. And regardless of how the conversation goes, pretty soon there's a knock at the door. It's the police. They're accusing your wife of murdering her father, and she's under arrest.
Oh boy. And
you could struggle, you could try to fight, but it always ends with you or her meeting some sort of a disastrous end. And when that happens, the game resets and you begin from scratch. And you have to use your limited amount of time very wisely. You only have 12 minutes before time resets. If you try to leave the apartment, time immediately resets. If you try to bargain with this cop, doesn't work out. Right? There's all these different actions that you could try to take, but you want to end up using your time wisely so that you're able to get clues. So the next time the loop happens, you're more educated, and you can kind of cut conversations short so you can ask specific questions related to what's going on. And this kind of repeats more and more. And each time you go through, you start performing a pattern of actions, almost like a puzzle, where you're trying to get yourself to the point where you can progress further, but you still don't have enough information yet. So you kind of try to speed things along as fast as you can. You can only go as fast as your wife allows. So That sounded weird. That's not what I meant. But
It did.
but I mean,
it did sound weird.
But you see, like in the clip that I'm showing you, like she's walking around, like she doesn't run. She's only moving at a very specific pace. Now she's getting ready to sit down and have dessert with your character, but you can have a completely different conversation with her, and none of that even happens. So it's very fascinating, and without getting into too much detail, you start finding out that the story is not quite as simple as it seems. You start finding things out about her, about the officer, about your situation, and it starts kind of getting a little bit out of control. I feel like I'm on a path to finishing the game soon, but I was kind of hitting a wall where I was just doing the same things over and over again. So I decided to kind of back off of it and take a break. And I'm going to circle back again, either tonight or tomorrow, and see if maybe, I could take a look at things from a different standpoint. There's been very mixed reviews for this game, all over the place. Some people love it. Some people hate it. So far I'm liking it, but I could see where some people might be against the game. Some of the complaints are valid, especially considering that it really feels like it's made for PC with the way the clicking and dragging is. On an analog stick, it doesn't work quite as well. So the controls are not as smooth as perhaps they could be. But overall, I think it handles pretty well. I also read something about the ending just being a complete dumpster fire, and I don't know what the ending is. I haven't looked at it. I don't want to know, but I guess it's not good. So I'm kind of preparing myself for that.
See, that's the downside of sometimes reading too much online. Is like, even though that's not a spoiler, it's setting yourself up to prepare for something.
It was a headline too. It wasn't even like an article that I clicked on. It was like the title of the article.
Oh, that's annoying.
So it's like, wait till you see when blah 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 shows up tonight on this show. It's like, oh great, now I know. Or we pick on Damien for doing this stuff all the time with us, but he's like, oh, wait till you get to the section with X, Y, and Z. And like, oh great, now I know I have to wait for X, Y, and Z to happen. And it's like, well, that's not a spoiler, but it is. But it's not, but it is. So
exactly. It's a gray area, but a very gray area.
Yeah. Killer Sirach notes that Kojima apparently is a big fan of the game, and I've seen that as well. Apparently, he thinks it's wonderful. I did not read his comments on it. That might be something worth your attention. But
yeah, I might look into that. I mean, he likes some stuff that I don't like at all. Which is expected.
Yeah.
He probably likes it because it's different.
And I think there's something to that. I think it's a vastly different game that we've seen, compared to anything else that's out there. It's got some great voice actors in it. Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, Willem Dafoe. Considering that you never see the characters' faces, everything is done by voice. It's well done, man. Like, they certainly didn't phone in the voice acting, in my opinion. I've enjoyed it so far. Although you do start to hear the same lines over and over again, so that can kind of get annoying. But that again is just kind of part of the loop. There's really not much else you could do about that. So
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the concept here is wildly interesting.
Yeah, like right now you can see the cop is roughing up my guy here, and it's all going to reset in a moment. So. And that's just the first loop. This happens over and over and over again. And you can take actions to try to stall the process or sway it in a different direction. And that's really what the game becomes about, is figuring out the puzzle so that what you're seeing right now doesn't happen repeatedly. And it's trickier than you think. It's an obtuse game. And if you like those sorts of things, I think you'd be pretty into this. But if not, then this might not be your jam.
Yeah, this is probably not a game for me. I can just tell. But it's something that I would probably watch on YouTube, like a full-length playthrough, just to kind of understand it.
Yeah, I think that would be perfectly acceptable, for most people. So it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass and you want to give it a try, it doesn't hurt to install it and uninstall it. I can recommend it for that at the very least. But
I love how the dude that busts in, you said he's a cop, right?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not Hitman?
Well, I mean that's possible. We don't know. We have to find out where the story takes us.
Yeah, well, I was really just making a bad joke about the Hitman games.
Oh
He
yeah.
looks like the Hitman dude.
Yeah, he does a little bit. I mean, he's bald, but that's about it. I think the guy has a mustache. So,
What's the guy's name in the Hitman games?
Agent 47.
Yeah, yeah, he looks like Agent 47, black suit, bald head.
Yeah. Yeah. Could see that. All right. So, last topic of the day, and this is kind of a last minute one. Happy birthday to the Super Nintendo, 30 years old today.
That's pretty amazing, man. I
Yeah.
had mentioned to you before we hit record that this is actually the first console I ever owned.
Yeah.
Um,
Tell me about that.
yeah, I think I mentioned it on our very first episode. I probably did, because that's when we did like a whole timeline for each other, really.
Hmm.
But yeah, the Super Nintendo. I remember going to Toys R Us for that one. My mom brought me. It was the $99 bundle that came with Killer Instinct with the black
Mm.
cartridge. And man, I remember playing that game much, so much, and I got really good at it.
Hmm.
And after that, it was just chasing the dragon. I had so many games. I then moved into the Super Star Wars games, which I still love to this day. I had such a blast with all three of those, and Street Fighter 2. I can't really remember what other games I owned. I definitely owned way more than just those games that I mentioned, but I just remember playing a shit ton of Super Star Wars.
Mm.
And I just loved that system. I remember even back then when that was my first console, I already had OCD about keeping that thing so clean
Hmm.
because I really felt like it was the best thing I ever owned at that time in my life. And I think for a lot of kids and teenagers, when you own your first video game console, it's the greatest thing ever. So I remember dusting it off and just being so gentle with even just a power switch, inserting a game. I had a cleaning kit.
Hmm.
I think I bought from Babbage's, and I was that guy. I still am. I really like to take care of my stuff, and I think the Super Nintendo is a really, really special console.
Mm.
I think it is to a lot of folks. And do I really regret getting rid of my miniature version? Not really, because it was a novelty piece. I was really happy that Lauren found me like, one last copy at Best Buy or whatever.
Hmm.
And we played it for a hot minute, and I played it for a hot minute after that. But I just, I knew that that time had passed, that ship had sailed. And I still have a lot of respect for the system and a lot of respect for people that still fire up those old consoles on a classic CRT. But I can't see myself going back to it. But man, does it hold a place in my heart? Absolutely.
Mm.
And it always will, because that's where it started for me, man.
Yeah. Wasn't my first console, but a lot of the same memories and vibes that you had, I also had for mine as well too. I don't remember exactly where we bought it, but I still have my original Super Nintendo in the box with all of the plastic bags that came with it, and I still store it in that box. All the materials, all the printed materials, I still have. And I guarantee if I were to look at that box, if it was purchased at a store that put stickers on their boxes, that sticker is probably still on that box. So
Wow.
I bet I could probably figure out where I got it from.
Well, keep it in that box, man, because we've all seen the yellow,
Yeah.
the yellow stains on Super Nintendos over the years from smoke and sun.
Mine is pretty much, free of that, despite living in a smoker's household. I don't have any of that yellowing on my Super Nintendo, amazingly, and I've never used Retro Bright on it. So very pleased with that. The one that I have came with Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars, and I would later go on to buy, a lot of fighting games, really. Killer Instinct, as you mentioned, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3. But the bulk of my games came out of a bargain bin, surprisingly. When I was growing up, my parents didn't have a lot of money, so they didn't really buy a lot of games for me. And my grandfather would bring me down to Toy Works in Stratford, which later became KB Toy Works. But at the time, it was just Toy Works. and he'd be like, well, here's $20, go pick a game out of the bargain bin. And he would do this, once every couple weeks. So it was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. But a lot of those games in that bargain bin were fighting games. So I got my first copy of Street Fighter in that bargain bin. That was my first exposure to Street Fighter. I got Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which is one of the better versions. But then the rest of the games that I got out of that bin were a lot of SNK fighting games. So Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, World Heroes 2, got those games.
A lot more challenging.
And at the time, at least in Connecticut, the respect for those games wasn't really there. So people would kind of look at them like they were low-rent Street Fighters or low-rent Mortal Kombats without realizing the heritage that SNK had. And I wasn't privy to it at the time either. Looking back, I'm like, wow, these were kind of historic games. I remember the first game that I purchased with my own money was Star Fox. And I remember buying it at Woolworth in Derby, Connecticut.
Oh, my God.
I still have that copy, and it's sitting behind me somewhere on that shelf. Actually, it's just out of camera view. I'll do a little tilt here for the audience. It's on that top shelf, a few in, next to the Star Trek ones. Because they're alphabetical, of course.
Dude, I'm still convinced because, like, every time I go over there, you always have, like, this sort of nonchalantly placed gem front and center on that shelf.
I like to mix it up.
Every time I come over there, I'm just convinced that you switch it up every year. Like, Will's coming, let me just put something that you might like out front.
I have right there where my finger is, that's Chrono Trigger. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yep.
Right above it is Doom 64.
Yeah.
Thanks, store in Long Island. So like I mean, I decorate this partly for the Twitch stream, but also partly for myself. I like to display the games that I really love, and I like to rotate them. And shelf space is limited, so you get a little creative with stuff too sometimes. But yeah, like I have to look at that receipt later. I was talking with Stone Age Gamer guys about that earlier too, and I have to take a picture of the receipt and share it with everybody. But yeah, man, I paid cash for that. For somebody that's like 8 years old, that took a while. but I bought it with my own money, man. But yeah, man, I have a lot of fond memories with that. Super Star Wars, as you mentioned. I think that's one of the ones I got out of the bargain bin. What else? The couple Star Trek games, Starfleet Command. I fucking love that game. Doom. Doom was the first time I played. Doom was on the Super Nintendo. I had no idea how bad it actually was, but at the time I thought it was great, and it opened up a gateway for me because then I went and found it on PC, and I was properly educated, and it started a whole landslide of awesomeness. So to me, the Super Nintendo, was a big deal, and I'm not sure that I would be the gamer I am today without it. I just wish that I had taken the time to try to explore some more of those, so-called AAA titles that everybody beloves, nowadays. Things like Legend of Zelda, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, and just so many others. Donkey Kong Country, even though I have a copy of Donkey Kong Country, I'm notoriously bad at it. And, I blame being a kid and never having it. So,
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I mean, it's such a fun system, man. And I think it obviously has quite the legacy that still lives on. I mean, when it came out and even to this day, there's a flag still planted in the ground for that console, and no one's ever going to remove that flag.
No.
It's always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of like when you imagine the lineup of like Olympic winners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Olympic finalists. It's pretty much got a silver medal in my eyes.
Yep. Well, I have finally gotten a notification of shipping for the Super NT, so I'm very excited about that.
That's right. Yes, you did purchase this.
I did. They were supposed to ship them out the same week that they went on sale, and I don't know what happened, but it's on the way. I have a tracking number from FedEx now, so it should be in my hands by Friday, and I'm hoping to perhaps film an unboxing video of that. And I don't know if I'll have that finished by the time we record our final episode, but we'll see. So
tracking something that you really want is such a unique but psychotic experience of just having multiple tabs open just absolutely just destroying the tracking number
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over again
Yep.
until it's beaten to a pulp until it finally arrives, and then you just throw it away like it's nothing. You're just like, that's it. I'll never look at you ever again.
Delete.
But while I had you, I'm gonna beat you to death.
Oh God. And we're so spoiled in this world of Amazon, Prime shipping.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's crazy what it's done.
sometimes I'll order stuff and I'll get it within the same day, depending on what it is and when I order it. It's rare, but it happens. And it's gonna take a week. Are you fucking kidding me?
I know. This is what it's done, man. I mean, not to go off on an Amazon tangent, but I was just telling Lauren that I was looking for something recently for the office, and I went straight to Amazon, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Prime, can't go wrong.
Right.
And I couldn't find what it was, or what it was that I was looking for. I was like, man, they just don't really have it here. And I didn't even really contemplate looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
I thought that was the only place that you could get everything, and that's the sort of trance that Amazon has put us in, is that this is the only place to shop now, because if you go elsewhere, you got to wait or you got to pay for shipping. And it's true, and I ended up looking elsewhere. I was like, oh, that's right. You can find these things elsewhere.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to remind yourself of that now because of what they've done to us.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, If it's electronics, the first place I go is Best Buy. The second place is Amazon. Everything else, the first place is Amazon.
Yeah. I mean, you can't blame ourselves, I guess. I mean, it's very convenient, but there are other businesses that exist online and other companies. And I think I don't know, we sort of get upset over a week's shipping.
We've created this monster.
And yeah, we have. And a lot of cases, the things that we don't need in a week.
Right.
We just want it in 2 days, or we want it in 3 days. But anything surpassing that, we're thinking, well, I don't want it anymore if I'm going to get it in a week. Well, it's like, well, do you need it now, or do you need it in like a month from now?
Right.
But that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of this one. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up for the night?
I think I have a weird headache from this Ivy League candle.
Can you tell the listeners about this? Because we had a brief conversation earlier.
Yeah, so here it is. The company is Manly Indulgence. I guess it was established in 2013, so it's pretty new. And these candles are kicking around at Home Goods, at HomeSense, at Christmas tree stores, all these like little knick-knack places. And they're really popular. I like them. I don't like all the scents, but I like most of them. And this is one that I picked up recently. Drew has one. It's a black tuxedo.
I don't know where I put it. It might be in the kitchen.
I think it's underneath the desk, isn't it?
It was, but I try not to light candles in this room because Metro will frequently jump up on my computer desk, or there's a coffee table behind me. He'll jump up on that, or he'll jump up on the TV stand. And I'm afraid that he's so fluffy that he's going to catch something on fire. So I don't light candles in this room anymore. But I will bring the candle into the living room or the kitchen to a place where he's unable to jump up. It's really just a irrational fear of mine. Even though I've seen him go up to the candle when it's lit, sniff it, and then realize, oh, that's fire, and then back away.
Yeah.
But he's a little derpy sometimes, so it's just better safe than sorry.
But yeah, no, I totally understand that. I've never been much of a candle guy. Most of them, I think, smell terrible. Like a lot of the Yankee Candle stuff is just really perfumey, and I don't like that. But some of these Manly Indulgence ones and these sort of like, men's candles definitely have some pretty nice scents, like tobacco and oak and all this kind of cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to just kind of light one when you're doing music or just hanging out in your office, bedroom, whatever it is that you're going to be in, doing the podcast. It just creates a nice atmosphere, a nice scent. And yeah, I enjoy them. But I think this one might have triggered off a headache. I don't know. It's either that or I just have a headache for some other reason. But this has notes of lavender, thyme, and white musk, Drew.
What the fuck is white musk?
It's Harvard. I was telling Drew, and this is the last thing I'll say. I was telling Drew, I went to Harvard once with Lauren back when I think we were just dating.
Ooh,
It
I
was
went to
2015,
Harvard. Yes.
yeah, and we just toured the campus, and I was a little disappointed. I got to go back because the day that we went, it was really rainy. It was overcast. The ground was sloshy, and there were just people taking pictures of statues and stuff. It just was not what I expected. So I will be going back, Drew, and I will be bringing this with me.
Are you gonna get it signed by
and walking around with you, get it signed by just some student.
fucking Johnny Harvard signing your candle?
Hey, you with the backpack that stretches out 1,000,000 miles, sign this for me.
Oh God. Let's thank some Patreons, shall we? We neglected to give a specific shout out to our patrons last week, and apologies there. So thank you to Keith Zallinger, Nick Naylor, Shannon Willis, and new patron this month, Pancake Ronan. Thank you so much for supporting us. As hopefully everybody is aware, the Patreon will be shutting down when the show ends at the end of this month. But if you'd like to support us one last time, you can do so at patreon.com/WDGR podcast. There's lots of content up there. I think there's 4 or 5 podcast episodes that are well over an hour and a half to 2 hours each, plus behind the scenes looks at photographs, notes, all kinds of cool stuff. So it's a lot of great content there, and it's going to be a last opportunity to get in on that if you're interested. Otherwise, the best place to find us is on the web at WDGRpodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. And, of course, Will, how can they find your sweet and sexy tunes?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
All right. That's going to do it for us this week. Next week, it's the last episode. So,
'tis, my friend.
All y'all that are listening right now, twitch.tv/WDGR podcast, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're doing, quit. Just come on by.
End it.
Just quit. Be like, you know what, guys?
Cancel it.
I can't feed my kid tonight. I gotta watch Will and Drew one last time.
Yeah, I mean, they won't die.
Right.
It's about priorities. I think that's the most important thing, Drew. Like, as long as the priority is set, which is us,
right,
then then I think that we'll be okay. God, that was so ridiculous. I couldn't even keep it straight. Oh my God, we are not a priority. But in all seriousness, we would love to see you there. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be a fun show. It's probably going to be long.
Yep.
I would imagine at least a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll wear like a crazy T-shirt, you know?
Are you gonna?
Maybe I'll be eating like gummy bears or something.
Will's gonna wear 2 T-shirts. One's white, one's black.
Oof, that is daring, Drew. That is daring.
Solid.
That's literally
nothing on
solid. That's my entire wardrobe. How'd you know? You know, I think I have a gray T-shirt in there.
Oh,
gray.
Wow. All right. Anyway. Oh goodness. All right. I need to go. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I need to eat dinner.
We'll see you next week. Thank you again.
See ya.